start. We're ready for our next interview.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. I apologize in advance. I'm recovering from, I'm so sorry, laryngitis.
Oh.
So my voice may crack a little. So I just wanted to give you all a disclaimer in advance.
Oh. Well, welcome, Ms. Silva. We're really happy and thrilled to have you here today, and we appreciate you applying for the position. We want to introduce ourselves. I'm Nina Rodenroth, the mayor.
Christine Thompson, Vice Mayor.
Steve Hart, retired.
And Dan Lewandowski, Councilman.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, ma'am. My name's Stephanie Silva. I've lived in Florida for about 12 years total. I'm originally from Arkansas. My husband and I bought property in Keystone in about 2019. I live over on Pecan Street. It reminds me a lot of home, so I like Keystone a lot. I'm from a small town called Beebe, Arkansas. So it's, it reminds me a lot of home. I lived in Gainesville for about 6 years. I currently work for the Alachua County Courthouse, the clerk's office. It'll be 11 years in April. I've worked anywhere from intake to probate, everything in between. I really like, right now I'm doing child support. They asked me back into that, so that's what they call, it's an allotment, so I'm not allowed to touch other things currently, but they try to, I'm what they call a space filler. They put me where they need me, and I learn rather quickly, and they're able to bounce me around. So within the courthouse in 10 years, I've worked around 11 positions.
Okay.
Which is, I love it. I mean, I like to learn. And so, and unfortunately, with where we're at currently in the clerk's office, there's just no more room for growth for me. And there's just nowhere going forward, unfortunately. And I have to look outside and closer to home, too.
Okay.
Which is nice.
Great.
Other than that, I have 2 children with my husband, John, and we have 4 dogs. Again, we love Keystone. It just reminds me of home. I do plan on retiring here. That's something that I'm looking for. I'm 10 years with FRS, so it's very important to me that if I make a career switch or switch positions somewhere, that is longevity in my future. I don't want to have to do this again. It's a little scary, intimidating in your late 30s, thinking about what my future may hold.
Well, it's a good thing to think about, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And as I get older, I find myself thinking more of that.
Good.
You don't ever listen to your parents until you get to that age and you're like, oh, they were right.
Right, duh. So we have some questions that Ms. Rutowski is going to ask.
Okay. Council has compiled a list of questions. I'll be asking them. They are from council, but it gives them an opportunity to make notes and really listen to your answers. So why do you want to work for the city of Keystone Heights?
The city of Keystone Heights, with my background, I feel like with your explanation, with what I could Google, you'll have to understand I'm limited in knowledge. I feel like with my 10 years experience, I can learn or take on anything that's thrown at me. I feel like with the city of Keystone growing, it's my opportunity to take on something that has growth opportunity with it. I see Keystone growing larger, and that gives me a chance to help build something underneath me. Whereas in Alachua County, I don't have that opportunity. I can become a supervisor, but making change or helping build something better for that county is not an opportunity. It's not available to me. Not that I don't believe I'm an asset or not an asset for them. It's just there's no going forward unless I'm just a supervisor. Unfortunately, it's just such a big place. You can't really make the impact that you really want to.
So why do you want to be our city clerk?
It is, honestly, it is closer to home. It is a much smaller venue than Alachua County. I currently work child support, so I deal with anywhere 20 to 30,000 cases, monthly. I don't personally touch them, but that's just what our volume looks like. And I feel like with Keystone Heights, it's much more funneled. There won't be as much. I'll be able to focus. I'll feel like accomplished, whereas with Alachua County, where I'm at currently, yes, I have a job, and yes, I do accomplish it, but I don't get to see things from start to finish. And I feel like with the clerk's position, I'll be able to see things start and see them come to an end, or watch things flow.
Do you want to have a career in municipal service with increasing responsibilities and opportunities?
Absolutely. With 10 years experience, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I have another 20, 30, 40 years left to give. And with this, I started out in education. That was my degree. And unfortunately I taught for a year and that just wasn't where my heart was. And I started at the courthouse. Mr. Irby was kind enough to give me a shot there. And I just flourished. Between the work and it's just constantly busy, with the sunshine laws, they change all the time, just depending on where you are in anything like that. It's ever changing and you're never bored. I mean, I've done minutes meetings too, and you guys are very well aware, not all meetings are fun, but it's informational and it's fantastic. And I've had to sit through many of those for Alachua County as well, recording them. So it's just never ending. Regardless of what you're interested in, there's always something to do when you're in these types of positions.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I hope to have my own office. My own office, a new vehicle, and just watching my kid graduate, my oldest graduate from high school in 5 years. Stability.
Why should the City of Keystone Heights Council hire you?
I am an absolutely dependable person. I am very quick to learn, but also quick to admit if I don't understand something. I will ask for help. If I am shortcoming, I will go out of my way to figure out how to make it better. I will do everything I can to be the best employee for you. You can contact Alachua County. My current supervisor was going to write me a letter of recommendation, but she thought maybe, but you could call any one of my employers and they would just vouch. I'm a hard worker. It's just being closer to home is just a very big bonus. And I told you when you called me, I had only saw this position open 2 hours before you closed it.
Oh, no.
So I am so sorry for the poorly put together resume. I apologize. I did that so quickly. But I just never thought a position would come open here. I've been looking for years between the electric company, the city hall. It's rare. It's a very rare thing.
Have you had any formal training in computer programming such as Microsoft Office, QuickBooks, and/or Canva, or has your training been mostly on the job?
All of Excel, Word, everything like that was college. We tend to use Finance Plus 2.0, Court View, Jury View, not the two programs you've listed, but I'm very familiar with lots of programs. We're also testing Clerk currently within the county, so we're about to make a whole system shift to that. So I'm very hands-on. I'm capable of learning a system quickly, but unfortunately the two that you listed at the end. I know what QuickBooks is, but I've never used it.
All right. Madam Mayor, is it okay that I go off script for just a minute?
Yes.
Thank you. So regarding the implementation of new software that you had mentioned with your finance, can you go through the process a little bit and how that's affected your position and any trials, tribulations?
Sure. So the software was for the Finance Plus, that's been about 8 years ago. So
Okay.
Bear with me. So when we were doing that, everything with the county runs on funding numbers. So, you'll have Fund 620 through 720. So when we switched, everything had to be allocated to the correct accounts. If it didn't run right, that meant your stuff would get shifted, the billing would run incorrectly, and then your audits would be incorrect. So when we switched, what we would do is we would run through testing. So say you had an account, the billing, they owed $50. Basically, you would go through, pay the billing in the test system, make sure it ran right to your original system. I know it sounds so basic, but believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna run into a problem. So you do that, and then as we would do that, we would transfer small chunks of 500 people at a time, whether it be names, addresses, driver's license numbers, and we would just spot check that information and just go through and make sure equations and, what am I trying to think of? Formulas would work correctly in the system.
Thank you. Do you enjoy working with the public?
I do, to an extent. When they get nasty, it is rather hard, but I am very much able to hold my composure. The older I get, the easier I find it is to I can't get it out.
Compartmentalize?
Yes, ma'am. and put aside that everybody has a bad day. I might not like it, and it may make me feel very awkward in that moment, but it's okay. The older I get, the more I realize it's okay for people to be angry. It's just fine.
Does your schedule allow for you to work long hours during holidays or other events that the city might put on? For example, for the 4th of July, working a 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. shift.
Yes, ma'am. I have no young kids. The youngest one is fixing to be 11.
What knowledge of the city clerk's position do you have for the council to consider you?
I'll be honest, I really have very basic knowledge of what this is, and I would be a pretty blank slate to be trained. That's just my honest answer with that.
What experience do you have in planning large events?
I've honestly never planned a large event. We've done luncheons for the clerk's office, but that's only like 150 people, honestly, guys, and I would not consider that to be a large event.
What is your experience in preparing and implementing large budgets? Can you tell us the size of that budget and explain the processes that you've gone through?
Unfortunately, with budgets, I was under the finance advisor, so all I would do was pull the records. I would do a lot of the processing, and she would do the finalized checks. So I unfortunately didn't have the final say. I was a step under that.
Now with that, as far as the final say, what was your involvement in that?
My involvement is I would balance accounts.
Okay.
So again, I apologize. It's been many years ago when I did the accounting part of it. I would get the billing. I would balance it out. We would have what they call escrow accounts, which would have several attorneys would have amounts of money, whether it be $5,000, $3,000. You would have to keep a running balance of that. At the end of every year, we would balance that escrow account. There were about 12 different fundings that we would have. I'm so sorry, it's been so long. We had a list, I had a printed list, and there was so much at the end of every year, and we would have Miss Ann would go through and she would do what we had left and supply it to the commission. I am so sorry. They called it the CAFR. I did not have much to do with that other than pulling the records and pulling the numbers. It was just a general report that I ran.
When the city manager is absent, would you be willing to fill in for short periods of time?
Absolutely. Working the minutes, I was able to step in as a senior deputy clerk. Sometimes if the clerk wasn't there, you would have to sign checks. I've had to sign $2 million checks for Alachua County in my lifetime. I did not like doing it, but if the job calls for it, I am comfortable doing things that are necessary, such as that.
Do you have any relationships or friendships with current employees or elected officials of the city? If so, please elaborate.
No, ma'am, I do not know anybody that works for the city of Keystone.
That's not a bad thing. How would you handle being asked by the city manager or a member of council to do something that you believe could be unlawful, unethical, or against city regulations?
Well, I'm hoping that I would have a great rapport with our city manager, and I would hope I could discuss that with them and then get a second opinion with them, not behind the back. You know, if there's a disagreement, again, it definitely depends on rapport. You never want to go behind anybody's back, ever. But if I don't agree with something, I'm going to bring it up to the person. And then if they still don't agree, maybe we can have that person pick a third party that we can discuss it with before, you know, anything bad could happen, possibly. But I don't foresee anybody putting me in that position. Let's hope not.
Would you, as a condition of employment, participate in some type of education or training that would directly assist you in your duties while in the position of city clerk, such as one offered by the Florida Association of City Clerks?
I would love to. I would go back to college if it was free. Honestly, I have 4 degrees. So if you want to send me to class, I will gladly go.
Right. Upon graduating from Arkansas State University, what brought you to Keystone Heights?
In all honesty, a divorce. So I lived in Arkansas, and it just a huge change of scenery. I was actually headed to North Carolina to live with my grandparents, and I'd never seen Florida. So I drove through the Panhandle, and I actually went through Tallahassee, and I was like, this isn't so bad, and kept on going, and ended up in Gainesville, and got a job offer with the clerk's office. So I ended up just staying. Odd, but, stranger things have happened, I guess.
Very true. Besides the senior deputy clerk role in Alachua County, do you have any additional professional roles or job experiences? And please share.
Within the clerk's office, I'm sorry, within the clerk's office, are you talking about within the clerk's office what I've done, or outside of that?
Besides the senior deputy clerk role in Alachua County, so
Well, okay, so
life
that's,
prior, maybe?
I'm sorry?
Life prior to Alachua County clerk?
Well, okay, so that's 10 years there. I'm sorry, the senior deputy clerk, I was that for 7 different positions in there. So I'm sorry, I was a little confused. Before that, I was a housewife and a college student. I did teach for 1 year. I'm so sorry, I did teach for 1 year, but I tend not to give myself credit for that. I taught in Arkansas, and it did not go well. It was a very bad experience. I taught in Little Rock. It was a very low income school, and we had 2 drive-bys when I was there, and it'll put a bad taste in your mouth in a hurry. So that was the end of my teaching career, unfortunately.
Describe how your multitasking roles with your current position at the courthouse are conducted. How do you interact with other departments and teams, and how many people are involved on a daily basis?
So with child support, it's pretty isolated, but before I did child support, I was in jury management. So with jury management, I was responsible for summoning anywhere between 600 to 1,200 jurors every week. With that, I would have to reach out to my criminal intake department as well as scanning department. They would have to help me fold the summonses, what we call tab them, make sure that everybody is addressed, pull out of county summonses. With that, while processing that, I have to keep track of all the numbers of who's out of county, who's getting an exception as to not come by the judges. That has to be reported to the supervisors and back to the Office of Elections, so that following Monday, those people can report the right numbers to the judges for Venari. So it was very much important that every step be verbal and written down and right, because what we say on Friday reverberates on that Monday. It cannot change. So if you didn't get that right and get the right information out, it was bad. Luckily, it only happened to me once, very early on in jury, and I never made that mistake again. You don't ever want a judge angry at you.
So now is your opportunity to ask any questions of counsel or myself.
What exactly would I be expecting as a clerk for the city of Keystone Heights?
So the clerk's position is first and foremost responsible for records retention, minutes, and you mentioned sunshine, and that's a very fantastic thing because everything that happens within government is subject to sunshine. And so as a clerk, your first responsibility is going to maintain records. You will be responsible for minutes of meetings. You'll be and then expanding onto that, because the city of Keystone Heights is a fairly small community, it's a little bit of everything. There are meetings that you'll be attending that are throughout the county. Some will be at the Board of County Commissions with Clay County, Director of Tourism, and you'll be building those kinds of relationships. A portion of the job is going to be putting on or assisting in putting on large events. You may have seen with MotoSurf or our 4th of July event, things like that. That all happens in-house in conjunction with our partners at the Board of County Commissions. And so you will be the liaison and partly responsible for those events and making sure that they go on security, safety, communicating with the sheriff's office. And then after that, it's going to be a little bit of everything. You'll be doing upfront reception, working in accounting with their inside QuickBooks, going through making sure that our budget is implemented properly and that all of our bills are coded appropriately, all of our revenues are put into the right account. We do have several accounts, as we do have different revenue streams that come into the city. And so all of that will be partly your responsibility and your daily oversight, as well as assisting the city manager on day-to-day operations of city staff.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I feel like the blondest human here. So as you're asking me that, all these questions, I have them right here broken down. Isn't it so sad? All 5 of you are making me so nervous. I've already
Oh, you should not be nervous at all.
I'm so sorry.
We're, oh yeah, we're real laid back.
Copies if you guys would like it, but I did list everything in 2 pages, what I have done for the county, because I knew I would go blank.
May I have a copy of that?
You can have the whole thing.
Perfect, thank you very much.
So sorry.
In folders?
Oh, you're so funny.
Plastic folders?
Oh, you're so
I'm-
sweet.
I'm
Take a look,
so
Dan.
sorry. I knew I would do that. I get fairly nervous when I meet people for the first time. So I do apologize, and I apologize I did not bring 5.
No, it's fine.
We'll make you share.
Yeah, we
I
share.
apologize. In there, there are a couple of my service awards, and then 2 letters from Mr. Irby, the clerk himself, and just a few of the things that I've accomplished there. Again, I'm very proud of what I've done for Alachua County. Just unfortunately for me, it is a 40-minute drive, and there's just no room for growth. It's such a huge place that I just don't make an impact there, unfortunately. I don't.
What other questions do you have?
With the meetings, would I be responsible for recording those? Before, when I worked for Alachua County, we had a program that I would bring speakers, record, sound bite. I would also be responsible for posting those, typing those up. Is that also?
Yes, so the setup here in Keystone Heights is that we do have a sound booth. Mr. Garrett is back there working our meeting, our audio and visual right now. And then all of those are recorded, they're placed on YouTube, and then you will be responsible for producing the minutes from each meeting.
Perfect. And then what program do you guys use for the minutes?
That's all, it's all done in Word.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So we had a program in Alachua County. I apologize. That's one I know how to do.
Absolutely.
With the minutes. With that. And then as far as events and stuff, how far out generally do you guys start planning the big events? So I know you guys do the Christmas stuff. Is Boo on the Boulevard, is that put on by the city as well?
Yes, it is.
Um,
Yes, it is. So come January, the city will start working with the Clay County Tourism to start discussing motosurf and watercross if they choose to come back. Those are events that are brought to us by Clay County Tourism, so we work hand in hand with them. Come January, February, the city will start full throttle into planning the 4th of July event, because that is an all day from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. event. And so everything the city has a hand in as far as safety and security. There's different organizations that come in and partner with the city as far as the run and the parade. However, all the vendors, the band, the fireworks, that's all in complete control of the city, and so those are the responsibilities. And the city will be starting to gear up for that rather quickly. So,
and then, what do you guys expect of me? What are you looking for in an employee? I mean, I think that's pretty important. It's a very small group, and you don't want to have somebody that you're not going to get along with or you're not going to like professionally, and I can understand that and respect that as well.
Do you guys have anything to say to her question?
Well, I can only say that I like your personality already.
Thank you so much.
I mean, from what I've seen of you, and we just met.
Thank you.
I've been here a long time, so I understand the driving, because I drove to Jacksonville.
It's an easy
For
drive,
30
but
years.
it's long.
No, it'll bother you after a while. So, I mean, I totally understand it, and the actual opportunity to offer a decent paying job in this town is an
Absolutely.
amazing thing.
Absolutely.
There's gonna be some long days in this job, just so you know. But you're close by home. That makes all the difference in the
It really
world.
does.
To me, it would to me if I was working and stuff.
It really does.
Yes.
Having commuted from the suburb of Chicago to my law office in southern Wisconsin is 86 miles, so I can identify with 43. I think, I have to review your materials, but I think you answered one of my questions. What do you do as far as child support? It looks like it's administrative more than anything else. But when I was first out of law school, I prosecuted child support cases. How do you like to get along with attorneys? You like those?
He's an attorney, be careful.
50-50. I have some really good ones.
There are a few good ones. You mentioned you have 4 degrees. What are those?
So 3 of them are associates, general computer science, associates of arts, and associates of education. And then I have a bachelor's of education But when I went to college, you could specialize. So I specialized in math and science, meaning I took an extra 18 hours of both math and science for my education degree. So if I should want to go back to school, I'm only probably 2 semesters away from being able to teach college myself for math or science. However, I have no ambition to go that far. I'm okay with not having a doctorate or my master's currently.
But you
Maybe-
like continuing education?
Oh, I love it. I think if it was free, I would be in class all the time. My stepmother is very much like that. She has 6 degrees. I'm trying to catch up to her one day.
What did you teach when you taught?
I taught math and science. So 6th grade. So we split. I taught 3 periods math, 3 periods science. I had what they called the planning period and a regular period. But unfortunately, it was very short-lived. I said Little Rock, Arkansas, but it's a smaller town called Sherwood. If you ever look it up, the crime rate, the violence is just so high there. They wouldn't even allow their children to play outside. What it was would be like a chain link with concrete. And the thing is with education or teaching degree, you have to teach at a low-income school district for 6 years to get the forgiveness loan. So that was my only option. And then when I moved to Florida, I just happened to luck out. I didn't know anything about the loans through the government where you do public service for 10 years and they will forgive your loans. I had no idea. So I recently qualified for that last year. So this type of work has just been a blessing for me all the way around. It's just been nice. I feel like I still use a lot of my education. Maybe not in the same ways that I would be if I was still in the school district, but it's good. I feel useful. I feel like I'm not going, for a lack of a better word, I'm not going brain dead. I'm not dying in my chair of boredom.
You don't have to answer this, but if you share what's your class rank in college?
My what?
Your class rank, where did you stand with your?
Oh, I was about a 3.5, but I have unopened transcripts I can provide if you guys like.
No.
I was about a 3.5. I would have done 4.0, but my very first semester of college, I failed 2 classes because I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea whatsoever.
You're preaching to the choir.
But after that first semester, I got it together.
Now, when you were clerking doing jury duty, did you have a lot of interaction with lawyers?
Absolutely. So more or less, the state. I can't think of his name. He would come from the state, and he would be the general one to make sure that we had the numbers for Venari. There would be 4 or 6 other attorneys waiting upstairs in the Venari rooms. I wasn't allowed to go that far.
Okay.
I was on the bench next to the judge, and every time they would do an excusal, I was responsible for recording that, communicating with the judge, making sure if there was felony convictions, I would look that up for Your Honor, provide that information to him, announce, swear anybody in, anything like that. But unfortunately with jury, because it's so secretive, there's so many parts to it, I wasn't allowed to go into the jury rooms or see how Venari actually worked.
Okay.
Or I've never actually been selected for jury either. And it's so sad having worked it. I've never actually been through the process.
Yeah,
Did you
yes,
have to
it
keep
is.
records before dire questions and answers?
No, that was actually in Verdire itself.
Okay. Thanks.
So I was just in Venari. I'm sorry.
That's all I have.
Do you have any questions?
No, I'm done.
Mr. Lewandowski?
So I'll go back to your question, which was, what are we looking for? And first thing is, we're looking for someone who gets along. You know, if we get one bad egg in the city here, it's such a small workforce that it ripples through the whole workforce. So we really want someone who will fit in and not cause trouble, and so that's important. We're also looking for someone who's willing to learn, and you obviously are willing to learn. You're willing to step up when we need you. You know, if our city manager gets sick and we need someone to fill in at a meeting or something like that, we need someone who can step up, even if they don't know anything, just kind of go and do the best they can, and that's good enough. You know, as time goes on, hopefully you would learn and you would become more and more competent and assured of yourself. You know, we're also hiring a city manager. Have you heard that?
I have heard that.
Yes.
And thank goodness she let me know on my cover letter I put city manager instead of city clerk. I was like, oh no, so I can fix that on your new copies. But yes, I am aware, and also that's why I said growth. With all this growth happening and new things, that's opportunities for me. Not that I'm after your job, ma'am, I'm so sorry. But those are things I'm looking for in my future. I need longevity. I need to know that in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, I'm still gonna have a job. I don't want that uncertainty in my future, and I wanna know I'm gonna have a good job with good people, like you said. It's a small area. With Alachua County, yes, I work in a small group, but it's a department. I can move around. With this, there's less of that. So it is very important, I agree, very important that everybody should get along and it be open.
Well, I love your energy, and, it is infectious. And I think coming to work every day with that kind of energy, whether you have personalities that collide or whatever, I think it does bleed into, and eventually folks do realize that, I need to change my attitude a little bit. Because it is all about working cohesively together as a team and as a group. And a lot of times it is that one individual that can, engage that. So it is important. We have a very small group here. My biggest thing too is this building, everyone in this building is the face of the city. It is not us. It is not. It is Lynn and her team, or whoever is working here in under this room. Anybody that comes in that door, I want them to feel like they are in the South and that they are welcome to be here. You ever go through the airport in North Carolina and Charlotte, and you're in the bathrooms, and those ladies are in there, hi, how are you? They're very friendly, very welcoming, and of all places in a bathroom, right? But it's a Southern thing. And
I feel like home.
absolutely. And, we have got an amazing community here, a lot of great people who want to do great things. And the biggest importance, whether we're having a bad day or not in this building, it has to always look like you're having a great day. And being a good communicator, not only in person, on emails, follow-up phone calls, those types of things are very critical. And that's just kind of how I see it. I come from the business background, I'm also in a science background. And, there's just things you can't accomplish if you don't have some of those basic skills. At least it won't be successful. But listen, thank you so much for your time today. I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you.
I've enjoyed it meet everyone as well. Thank you.
Are there any other questions that you have regarding the position?
I have a few basic questions, such as, is this also FRS? Or what kind of retirement?
It is not. So it is a 401k.
Okay.
We do not participate. The city, it's just too small. We've looked into it a couple of times, but it is not for the retirement.
Okay. And then as far as benefits, I just want to make sure that I will still, if I should be offered, that I would still have medical.
So the benefits of the city are the city of Keystone Heights covers 100% of your pay for medical for the employee, and then family will be the responsibility of you, whether you carry that on to our plan or elsewhere, however you see fit. You also have, like I said, a 5% match of your 401k. There are 13 days off throughout the year. One of those is a floating day to celebrate your birthday or your anniversary. And then all the nationally recognized holidays and things of that nature I'm sure you're used to with Alachua. You have personal time off, and that's split up into sick and vacation. That's accrued throughout the years, and it's on a 5-year bracket, so every 5 years that changes. And that, for the benefit package, that's what we do. Yes.
I mean, the only difference is FRS, which is nice. Again, I just want to reiterate, with looking for new opportunities, I also want to make sure that I'm making the best and most informed decision for myself.
Sure.
So these questions are not.
No,
Or not,
absolutely,
Don't worry about it.
absolutely appropriate.
I just don't want to come across rude or anything. I just want to make sure that I'm
Oh, no.
covered in all aspects.
Absolutely.
Other than that, what would be if I were to be offered, what would be a start time that you guys would be looking at? Oh, don't
Well-
do that. That makes me scared. She's gonna say Monday.
No, so there is a process that council does have to go into. So there's a couple of interviews today. They'll go into session this afternoon, this evening, discussing who's going to be their candidate. And then negotiations will happen between the city attorney and that individual applicant. Within the start date will be negotiated. However, the council is looking at fairly soon. And so it turn the question on to you is, if you were to be offered the position, when would you be capable of starting?
Well, currently, I would like to be able to quit on a pay period end with my current position, so that would be not this coming Friday, but the Friday after. I apologize, not the
The 15th.
The,
Thank you.
not, yeah.
That way it's easier on payroll. If I do make a job switch, they're able
You
to
get
do a
paid twice
full
a
80
month.
hours, and also it gives them 2
December
weeks.
8th.
There's 5
It's a
people in
Friday.
my current department, so
December.
it wouldn't be a shift. They're not worried about
You're
losing
looking at
me.
November,
Again,
December.
my supervisor, she's
This
very
is this
pro. She's
Friday.
very
It's
much,
this
she's
Friday,
happy
so
to
we-
see me
They only get
expand.
paid twice
She's sad to see me
first
go, but
and 15th.
very much a supporting system for me, so she's very much aware. So if I needed to give 2 weeks, that would be just fine. I'm sure I could do 1, but 2 weeks would be great because that would go in with the pay period. And again, I'm just trying to be polite to payroll and such.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Are there any other questions that you have? All right.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to come in nervous and everything, but I truly appreciate all of you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Thank
No,
you.
you did fine. I appreciate it. I'm coming.